I never thought I'd be homeless at 58. Not broke, not abandoned. Just locked out of my own son's life, like trash left on the curb. The note on the door wasn't even in his handwriting. It was hers, Layla's. Neat, cold letters that might as well have been a knife. Margaret, you're no longer welcome here. Do not contact us again. 24 years of sacrifice gone, erased like I never mattered. But here's what she didn't know. I don't break that easy. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far the story reaches. The flight from Chicago landed 40 minutes late. I didn't care. I was just glad to be home. Home. That word used to mean something solid, a place where I could breathe. But as the taxi pulled up to Ethan's building, the building I'd been helping him afford for 3 years without him knowing, something felt wrong. The lobby was the same, marble floors, that ridiculous modern chandelier Layla insisted on when they moved in. But when I got to the elevator, my keycard didn't work. I swiped it again. Nothing. Red light. Excuse me, ma'am. The doorman Carl walked over. He wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm sorry, but your access has been revoked. My stomach dropped. Revoked? By who? By the residents of Unit 14B. Unit 14B, Ethan's apartment. There must be a mistake, I said, forcing a smile even though my hands were shaking. I'm Ethan Hale's mother. I've been coming here for years. Carl shifted his weight. He looked uncomfortable, pitying. I know, Mrs. Hale, but I have orders. I'm really sorry. Orders. I stood there in the lobby, suitcase at my feet, staring at this man I'd chatted with 100 times about his daughter's college applications, and he was telling me I couldn't see my own son. Can you at least call up? I asked. My voice cracked. I hated that. Tell them I'm here. He hesitated. Then he picked up the phone. I watched his face as he spoke quietly into the receiver. Watched the way his expression shifted from professional to something closer to discomfort. When he hung up, he didn't look at me. Mrs. Layla says you should check your messages. Not Ethan. Layla. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. There was a text from Layla's number. Margaret, this is inappropriate. You can't just show up unannounced. Ethan and I need space. We'll contact you when we're ready. Space? I'd been gone for 8 days on a work trip. I'd texted Ethan twice to let him know I'd landed in Chicago, sent him a picture of the conference center, asked how he was doing. He'd replied with thumbs up emojis, and now I needed an appointment to see my own son? I tried calling him, straight to voicemail. I tried again, same thing. My chest felt tight, the kind of tight that comes right before you start crying in public, and I refused to do that, not here. Not in front of Carl, who was still standing there like he was waiting for me to leave. Can I just leave a note? I asked. He looked pained. Mrs. Hale, I really think you should just... A note, Carl, please. He sighed and handed me a sticky note and a pen from the desk. I wrote, Ethan, I'm home. I don't understand what's happening. Please call me. I love you. Mom. I handed it back to Carl. He promised he'd make sure it was delivered. I didn't believe him. I walked out of that building and stood on the sidewalk, suitcase beside me, staring up at the 14th floor. The lights were on. I could see movement behind the curtains. He was home, right there, and he wouldn't see me. I went back to my apartment, the one I'd kept even after Ethan moved out, even though he'd suggested more than once that I didn't need it. You could downsize, Mom. Save some money, you're always traveling anyway. But I'd kept it because it was mine, because I'd worked my ass off to afford it after his father walked out when Ethan was 3, because I needed to know I had something that couldn't be taken from me. Except now, apparently, my son could be. I dropped my suitcase in the entryway and sat down on the couch. The apartment was dark, quiet. I didn't bother turning on the lights. My phone buzzed. For a split second, I thought it was Ethan. Finally, he'd come to his senses and call me and explain what the hell was going on. It wasn't Ethan. It was a number I didn't recognize. I answered anyway. Hello? Mrs. Hale, a woman's voice. polite, professional. This is Amanda from Build Secure Property Management. I'm calling to inform you that the automatic payment for Unit 14B has been declined. My heart sank. Declined? That's impossible. I have more than enough in that account. Yes, ma'am, but the account holder, Ethan Hale, has requested that all third-party payments be stopped. He's asked that future payments come directly from his account. I sat up. He what? He submitted the request this morning. I'm calling as a courtesy to let you know before we process the change. Did he say why? There was a pause. No, ma'am, just that he wanted full financial independence. Financial independence. That's what she called it. What I called it was Layla finally figuring out I'd been covering 30% of their rent for the last 3 years. Thank you for letting me know, I said quietly and hung up. I sat there in the dark staring at my phone. He knew. Ethan knew. And instead of calling me, instead of saying thank you or asking why I'd done it, he'd cut me off. Pink. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying everything. Every conversation, every visit, every moment in the last 6 months since he'd married Layla. She'd been sweet at first, polite, called me mom within the first month of dating Ethan, which I thought was a little fast but endearing. She worked in marketing for some tech startup. She was beautiful, confident. Ethan was head over heels. I was happy for him. I really was. But then little things started changing. He stopped calling as much. Stopped coming over for Sunday dinners. When I'd ask him about it, he'd laugh it off. We're just busy, Mom. You know how it is. I didn't push. I didn't want to be that mother, the clingy one, the overbearing one, and then the wedding happened. It was small, intimate, just 20 people. I wasn't involved in the planning. Layla said they wanted to keep it simple, low stress. I told myself it was fine, it was their day. But I wasn't asked to give a speech, wasn't asked to help choose the flowers or the venue or anything. I showed up, I smiled. I hugged my son and told him I was proud of him. Layla's mother gave a speech, talked about how Layla had always been destined for greatness, how Ethan was lucky to have found her. No one mentioned me. I told myself I was being sensitive, but now, sitting alone in my apartment, locked out of my son's building, I realized something. I'd been erased. Slowly, quietly, carefully, and I'd let it happen. Pink. The next morning, I called my best friend, Angela. Angela's known me since college. She's a lawyer, sharp as hell, doesn't take shit from anyone. If anyone could help me make sense of this, it was her. He did what, she said, when I told her about the keycard in the note. Revoked my access. Layla sent a text saying they need space. Space from what? You were on a work trip. I don't know, Anne. I don't know what I did. There was a pause on the other end. Then she said very carefully, Margaret, I'm going to ask you something and I need you to be honest with me, okay? Has Layla ever made you feel uncomfortable, like she was pushing you out? I thought about it, really thought about it. Not overtly, I said slowly. But yeah, little things. She always has an excuse for why Ethan can't come to dinner. She forgets to tell him I called. She's always busy when I invite them over. And Ethan doesn't notice. He's in love. He thinks she's perfect. Angela sighed. Honey, I hate to say this, but this smells like isolation. Classic control tactic. She's cutting you off so he's dependent on her. But why? What does she gain from that? Control? Power? Maybe money, if she knows you've been helping them financially. I hadn't told Angela about the rent payments. I felt stupid about it now, like I'd been sneaking around behind my own son's back. I was just trying to help, I said quietly. He was so proud when he got that apartment. I didn't want him to struggle. And that's exactly what a good mother does. But Margaret, if Layla's spinning this as you being controlling or manipulative, Ethan's going to believe her, especially if she's already been working on him. My stomach turned. What do I do? You document everything, every text, every call, every payment you've made. If this goes south, you're going to need proof. Proof of what? That you're not the villain she's making you out to be. And I spent the next 3 days trying to reach Ethan. Calls, texts, emails, nothing. On the 4th day, he finally responded. Mom, I think it's best if we take a break from contact for a while. You've been overbearing, and Layla and I need space to build our life together without interference. Please respect that. Overbearing interference. Those weren't his words. I knew my son. He didn't talk like that, but he'd sent the message, and that was enough. I read it over and over until the words blurred. Then I called Angela. He said I'm overbearing. Bullshit. He said I'm interfering in their life. Margaret, listen to me. This is textbook. She's feeding him a narrative and he's buying it because he trusts her. You need to fight back. How? Start with the money. You have records of every payment you've made, right? Yeah. Good. Print them. Save them. If Layla's telling him you're manipulative, those records prove you were helping, not controlling. But what if showing him makes it worse? Angela's voice softened. Honey, it's already worse. You've got nothing to lose. I started digging. Bank records, emails, text messages. I found the original conversation I'd had with Ethan about the apartment. He'd been so excited. Mom, I got it. They approved my application. I'd been happy for him, but I'd also known the rent was steep, too steep for his salary. So I'd quietly set up a separate payment. 30% of the rent automatically transferred every month. I never told him. I didn't want him to feel like he owed me, but I also found something else. Texts between Ethan and Layla from 2 months ago. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But he'd left his iPad at my place after a visit and it was still synced to his messages. Layla, your mom is so clingy, it's exhausting. Ethan, she's just trying to help. Layla, help? She's inserting herself into everything. It's like she doesn't trust you to live your own life. Ethan, I don't think it's that deep. Layla, babe, she's paying part of your rent. Did you even know that? There was a long gap. Then, Ethan, what? Layla, check your bank records. She's been sending money every month behind your back. Another gap. Ethan, why would she do that? Layla, because she doesn't think you can take care of yourself. She's controlling you. I stopped reading. That's when it hit me. She knew. Layla had known about the payments for months, and instead of telling Ethan in a kind way, she'd weaponized it, turned my love into manipulation, and he'd believed her. Blanky. I printed everything. The payments, the texts, the emails. Then I drove to Ethan's building. Carl saw me coming and looked like he wanted to hide. I need to see my son, I said. Mrs. Hale, I can't. I'm not leaving until he talks to me. Carl sighed. He picked up the phone. This time Ethan answered. I could hear his voice through the receiver. Frustrated, tired. Tell her I'm not home. Sir, she's insisting. Carl, I don't care. I don't want to see her. The words hit me like a punch. I don't want to see her. Carl hung up slowly. I'm sorry, Mrs. Hale. I stood there holding my folder of documents, feeling like a fool. Then I saw her. Layla. She stepped out of the elevator, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed. When she saw me, she smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. Margaret, she said sweetly, I thought we made it clear you weren't welcome. I looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time I saw it. The coldness behind the charm, the calculation behind the sweetness. She wasn't protecting Ethan. She was erasing me. I need to talk to my son, I said. He doesn't want to talk to you. Because you've poisoned him against me. Her smile widened. Or maybe he's finally seeing you for what you really are. I wanted to scream, to cry, to shove that folder in her face and make her admit what she'd done. But I didn't, because I realized something in that moment. This wasn't a fight I could win with emotion. Layla had spent months building her case against me, planting seeds, turning my son into someone I didn't recognize. If I wanted him back, I needed to be smarter. I needed proof she couldn't deny. So I looked at her, smiled and said, we'll see. Then I walked away. Angela helped me hire a private investigator. I know how that sounds, crazy, paranoid, like something out of a soap opera. But I didn't care anymore. Layla had taken my son, and I was going to find out why. The investigator's name was Marcus. He was quiet, professional, and didn't ask questions I didn't want to answer. "What exactly are you looking for?" he asked. "Anything that proves she's manipulating him. Lies, affairs, financial motives. I don't care what it is. I just need the truth." Marcus nodded. "Give me 2 weeks." Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I went to work. I smiled at my colleagues. I pretended everything was fine. But every night I came home to an empty apartment and stared at my phone, hoping Ethan would call. He never did. On day 13, Marcus called. "I found something," he said. My heart stopped. "What?" "Layla's been in contact with a lawyer, specializes in estate planning and asset protection." "Estate planning? Ethan doesn't have an estate." "No, but you do." The room tilted. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying she's been asking questions about inheritance laws, specifically what happens to your assets if you become incapacitated or die." I couldn't breathe. "She's planning something, Mrs. Hale. I don't know what yet, but she's positioning herself to benefit from you being out of the picture." I hung up. Then I threw up. Isantig. That night, Ethan finally called. I answered on the first ring. "Mom." His voice was flat, distant. "Ethan, thank God. Just don't." Silence. "I need you to understand something," he said. "I love you, I do, but Layla's right. You're too involved. You've been controlling my life without me even realizing it." "Controlling? Ethan, I was helping you. You were paying my rent without telling me. Do you know how that feels? Like you don't think I can take care of myself?" "That's not why I did it." "Then why, Mom? Why go behind my back?" "Because I didn't want you to struggle the way I did." The words came out sharper than I meant. There was a long silence. "I need space," he said finally. "Real space. Don't call, don't text, don't show up. If you love me, you'll respect that." "Ethan." He hung up. I sat there, phone in my hand, staring at the screen. And for the first time in 24 years, I felt like I'd lost him. Completely. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because Marcus called again the next morning. "I have something else," he said. "You're going to want to see this." I met Marcus at a coffee shop 3 blocks from my apartment. He was already there when I arrived, sitting in the back corner with a manila folder in front of him. He didn't smile when he saw me. That's when I knew whatever he'd found was bad. "Mrs. Hale," he said, standing briefly before sitting back down. I slid into the seat across from him. My hands were shaking. I clasped them together on the table to hide it. "What did you find?" Marcus opened the folder. Inside were photographs, bank statements, printouts of text messages. "Layla's been busy," he said quietly, and not in the way you'd expect from a newlywed. He slid the first photograph across the table. It showed Layla sitting in a restaurant with a man I didn't recognize. Middle-aged, expensive suit. They were leaning close, talking. "Who is he?" "His name is Richard Moss. He's a financial advisor, specializes in high net worth clients." I stared at the photo. Why would she need a financial advisor? "Ethan's income is decent, but it's not. It's not about Ethan's income," Marcus interrupted. "It's about yours." He slid another document across. It was a printout of my investment portfolio, my retirement accounts, my savings, information I'd never shared with Layla, information Ethan shouldn't have had access to either. "How did she get this?" "Ethan's listed as your emergency contact on most of your accounts, right?" I nodded slowly. I'd updated that years ago after his father and I divorced. Ethan was the only family I had. She's been using his access to pull information, quietly, over the last 6 months. 6 months. Right around the time they got engaged. My stomach turned. "Why?" Marcus hesitated. Then he said, "I think she's positioning herself to be Ethan's primary beneficiary. And if something happens to you, that means she controls everything you've built." The coffee shop felt too small, too bright. I couldn't breathe. "She's not waiting for me to die," I said slowly. "She's just making sure that when I do, Ethan gets everything. And Ethan does whatever she says." Marcus didn't correct me. I looked down at the photographs. at the bank statements, at the evidence of a woman I'd welcomed into my family, systematically dismantling my relationship with my son so she could cash in. "There's more," Marcus said. I wasn't sure I could handle more, but I nodded anyway. He pulled out another set of documents, text messages. These weren't between Layla and Ethan. These were between Layla and someone named Vanessa. I scanned the messages. Layla: "He's so easy to manipulate. Just tell him his mom's been controlling and he folds." Vanessa: "What about the money? Does he know she's loaded?" Layla: "Not yet. I'm working on it. Once I'm pregnant, I'll have more leverage. He won't leave me then." Vanessa: "You're a genius." Layla: "I know. I read it 3 times. Each time the words felt worse. Once I'm pregnant, I'll have more leverage." "Is she—" I couldn't finish the sentence. "Not yet," Marcus said, "but based on these messages as part of her plan." I wanted to throw up. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab Ethan by the shoulders and shake him until he saw what I was seeing. But I knew he wouldn't believe me, not without proof. Not without something so undeniable that even Layla couldn't twist it. "What do I do?" I asked. Marcus leaned back. "You have 2 options. You confront her directly with this evidence and hope Ethan believes you. Or you wait. Let her make a mistake. Catch her in the act. And if I wait too long, then she wins." I stared at the photographs, at the messages, at the life Layla had so carefully constructed to erase me. And I made a decision. "I'm not waiting," I said. Marcus nodded. "Then you need to be smart about this. She's going to deny everything. She's going to twist it. You need to corner her in a way she can't escape." "How?" He smiled, just a little. "Let me worry about that." I left the coffee shop with the folder tucked under my arm and a plan forming in my mind. It wasn't a good plan. It wasn't even a safe plan, but it was the only one I had. I was going to get my son back, and Layla wasn't going to stop me. That night, I called Angela and told her everything. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, very carefully, "Margaret, you need to be absolutely sure about this. If you go after her and it backfires, you'll lose Ethan for good. I've already lost him." "Not yet, you haven't. There's still a chance he'll come around on his own." "No, there isn't. She's got him convinced I'm the enemy, and if I don't act now, she's going to lock me out permanently." Angela sighed. "Okay, then let's do this right. You can't just dump this on Ethan and hope he believes you. You need to make him see it himself." "How?" "Layla's arrogant. I can tell from those messages. She thinks she's untouchable, so we give her enough rope to hang herself." I didn't like the sound of that. It felt manipulative. It felt like something Layla would do. But I was out of options. "What do you suggest?" "We set a trap," Angela said. "We make her think she's won, and then we watch her expose herself." The plan was simple, dangerous, and maybe a little cruel, but I didn't care anymore. Angela and I worked out the details over the next few days. The goal was to create a situation where Layla would reveal her true intentions in front of Ethan, something he couldn't ignore, something she couldn't explain away. The bait was money, a lot of it. I drafted a letter, made it look official, like it had come from my financial advisor. It detailed a windfall, a settlement from a lawsuit I'd supposedly won, $500,000, and I was planning to put it in a trust for Ethan. The letter was fake, but it looked real enough. I left a copy of it on my kitchen counter. Then I invited Ethan and Layla over for dinner. I didn't expect them to accept, but 2 days later, Ethan texted back. "Layla says we can come, but just for an hour." Just for an hour, like I was a chore, an obligation. I swallowed my anger and texted back, "That's perfect. I'll see you both at 7. Angela came over early to help me set up. We put a small camera in the living room, hidden behind a stack of books on the shelf. It wasn't illegal, it was my apartment, but it felt wrong anyway. "You don't have to do this," Angela said, watching me fidget with the lens. "Yes, I do." At exactly 7, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ethan standing there, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable. Layla was beside him, perfectly put together in a cream-colored dress and heels. She smiled when she saw me. It was the kind of smile a shark gives before it bites. "Margaret," she said warmly, stepping inside like she owned the place. "Thank you so much for inviting us. It's been too long." Too long. It had been 3 weeks. 3 weeks since I'd been locked out of my son's building. 3 weeks since he told me I was overbearing and controlling. But I smiled back. "I'm so glad you could make it." Ethan barely looked at me. He walked past, hands still in his pockets, and sat down on the couch. Layla followed him, settling beside him and placing a hand on his knee. Possessive, territorial. I sat across from them and tried to ignore the way my heart was pounding. "So," Layla said, glancing around, "what's the occasion?" I'd prepared for this, practiced the lines in my head a dozen times. "I wanted to talk to you both about something important," I said. "I know things have been strained lately, and I take responsibility for that. I should have been more respectful of your boundaries." Ethan looked up, surprised. Layla's smile widened. "We really appreciate that, Margaret. It takes a lot of courage to admit when you've been wrong." I wanted to slap her, but I kept my face neutral. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," I continued, "and I realized that I need to start planning for the future, my future, and Ethan's." Layla's eyes sharpened, just a little. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked. I reached for the fake letter on the coffee table and handed it to him. "I recently settled a lawsuit. It's a long story, but the short version is I'm receiving a significant amount of money, and I want to make sure it goes to you." Ethan scanned the letter. His eyes widened. "Mom, this is $500,000, I said. "I'm setting up a trust. It'll be yours when I'm gone, or sooner if you need it." Layla leaned over to read the letter. I watched her face carefully, watched the way her expression shifted from polite interest to barely concealed greed. "That's incredibly generous," she said softly. "Isn't it, babe?" Ethan looked uncomfortable. "Mom, you don't have to do this." "I want to," I said. "You're my son. Everything I have is going to you eventually anyway. I just want to make sure it's protected." Layla's hand tightened on Ethan's knee. "This is really thoughtful, Margaret. Have you already set up the trust?" There it was, the question I'd been waiting for. "Not yet," I said. "I wanted to talk to Ethan first, get his input on how it should be structured." Layla's smile was razor sharp. "Well, we'd be happy to help with that. Wouldn't we, Ethan?" Ethan nodded slowly. He still looked uncomfortable, but Layla's grip on his knee didn't loosen. We made small talk over dinner. Layla asked questions about the settlement, where the money was coming from, how soon I'd have access to it, whether I'd consulted a lawyer. I answered vaguely. Let her think I was naive, trusting. By the end of the night, I could see the wheels turning in her head. She thought she'd won. When they left, Layla hugged me. Actually hugged me. "Thank you for tonight," she said sweetly. "It means a lot to Ethan, to both of us." I hugged her back and I thought, you have no idea what's coming. The next day, Marcus called. "She took the bait," he said. "How do you know?" She contacted Richard Moss again, the financial advisor. She's asking about trust structures, specifically how to contest them if the beneficiary is married. My blood went cold. She's already planning to take it from him. Looks that way. I hung up and stared at the wall. This was worse than I'd thought. Layla wasn't just isolating Ethan from me. She was positioning herself to control every aspect of his life, his money, his decisions, his future, and he had no idea. I had to move faster. Angela helped me set up the next phase. We needed Layla to show her hand in a way Ethan couldn't ignore, so we arranged for a meeting, me, Layla, and a fake lawyer. I told Layla I wanted to finalize the trust paperwork and asked if she'd be willing to come along as Ethan's representative. "He's so busy with work," I said over the phone, "and I trust your judgment." She agreed immediately, too quickly. The meeting was set for the following Tuesday at a law office downtown. Except it wasn't a real law office, it was Angela's firm, and the lawyer was one of Angela's colleagues playing a role. Layla showed up 10 minutes early, dressed like she was going to a business lunch. She smiled when she saw me in the waiting room. "Margaret, I'm so glad we're doing this." I smiled back. "Me too." We were led into a conference room. The fake lawyer, a man named David, sat at the head of the table with a stack of papers in front of him. "Mrs. Hale," he said, shaking my hand, "and you must be Layla. Thank you both for coming." Layla settled into her chair, crossing her legs elegantly. "Of course, I want to make sure Ethan's interests are protected." David nodded. "Absolutely. Now, the trust Mrs. Hale is setting up is fairly straightforward. The funds will be transferred to Ethan upon her passing, or earlier if she chooses to dissolve the trust." Layla leaned forward. "And what happens if Ethan passes away before Margaret?" I blinked. The question caught me off guard. David didn't miss a beat. "In that case, the funds would revert to Mrs. Hale, unless she designates a secondary beneficiary." Layla's eyes gleamed. Could the secondary beneficiary be Ethan's spouse? There it was. David glanced at me. I nodded slightly, giving him permission to continue. "It could be," David said slowly, "but that would require Mrs. Hale's explicit consent." Layla smiled. "Of course, I'm just thinking ahead, in case something happens." "In case something happens," she said it so casually, like she was talking about the weather. I felt sick. David continued going over the fake paperwork, but I wasn't listening anymore. I was watching Layla, watching the way she took notes, the way she asked pointed questions about probate laws and inheritance taxes. She wasn't here to support Ethan. She was here to figure out how to take everything. When the meeting ended, Layla hugged me again. "Thank you so much for including me in this, Margaret. It really means a lot." I forced a smile. "Of course." As soon as she left, David looked at me. "She's terrifying." "I know." Angela came in a moment later. "Did you get it?" David nodded. The entire meeting had been recorded, audio and video. I had everything I needed. Now I just had to figure out how to show Ethan without him shutting me out completely. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Layla's words, "in case something happens," like she was already planning for Ethan to be gone. I called Marcus. "I need you to dig deeper. I need to know if Layla's done this before." "Done what?" "Targeted someone, manipulated them, taken their money." There was a pause. "You think she's a con artist?" "I think she's too good at this to be doing it for the first time." Marcus agreed to look into it. 3 days later, he called me back. "You were right," he said. My heart stopped. "What did you find?" "Layla's real name isn't Layla Ross. It's Layla Vance. She changed it legally 5 years ago." "Why?" "Because Layla Vance was married before, twice. Both marriages ended in divorce. Both ex-husbands filed restraining orders." I gripped the phone tighter. "For what?" "Harassment, financial abuse. One of them claimed she'd stolen over $100,000 from him." "Did he press charges?" "No, he dropped it, probably paid her off to go away." I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. "She's done this before," I said quietly. "Yeah, and she's good at it. No criminal record, no trail, just a string of broken men who were too ashamed to fight back." "I'm not ashamed," I said, "and I'm not letting her do this to my son." I hung up and sat in the dark thinking. Layla wasn't just a manipulative daughter-in-law. She was a predator, and Ethan was her next victim. I had to tell him, but I knew he wouldn't believe me. Not without proof he couldn't deny. So I called Angela and Marcus and told them we needed to escalate. "We're going to confront her," I said, "all of us, with everything we've found, and we're going to record it." Angela hesitated. "Margaret, that's risky." "I don't care. I'm done being careful." We set it up for the following week. I invited Layla to my apartment under the pretense of signing the final trust documents. She agreed eagerly. When she arrived, Angela and Marcus were already there, sitting in the living room. Layla's smile faltered when she saw them. "Oh, I didn't realize we'd have company." "Layla, this is Angela, my lawyer, and Marcus, a private investigator I hired." Her face went pale, just for a second, then the smile came back, tighter this time. "A private investigator? Margaret, what's going on?" I didn't sit down. I stood in the center of the room holding a folder, the same folder Marcus had given me weeks ago. "I know who you are," I said quietly. Layla laughed. It sounded forced. "What are you talking about?" "Layla Vance, formerly married to David Chen and Robert Callahan, both of whom filed restraining orders against you for financial abuse. Her face went white. I know you've been manipulating my son, I continued. I know you've been accessing my financial information without permission. I know you're planning to isolate him completely so you can control his inheritance. Layla's eyes darted to the door, but Marcus was standing in front of it. This is insane, she said, her voice shaking. You're making things up because you can't accept that Ethan doesn't need you anymore. Then explain this. I opened the folder and pulled out the text messages, the ones between her and Vanessa, the ones where she called Ethan easy to manipulate. Layla stared at the printouts. For the first time, she had nothing to say. You targeted my son, I said, my voice breaking. You made him think I was the problem so you could cut me out and take everything he has, everything I've built for him. Layla's jaw tightened. Then she smiled. It was cold, empty. You can't prove any of this, she said. Actually, we can, Angela said, standing. We have recordings, bank records, witness statements, enough to build a case for fraud and emotional abuse. Layla's smile disappeared. Ethan will never believe you. Maybe not, I said, but I'm going to try. Layla looked at me for a long moment, then she laughed, really laughed. You know what, Margaret? Go ahead, show him. He'll think you're crazy. He'll think you hired people to lie about me because you're a jealous, controlling mother who can't let go. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the door. Marcus stepped aside. Before she left, she turned back. And just so you know, I'm pregnant. The words hit me like a freight train. You're lying, I whispered. Her smile was vicious. Am I? Ask Ethan. We're going to announce it next week, and once we do, he'll never leave me, no matter what you tell him. She walked out. I stood there frozen, staring at the empty doorway. Angela touched my arm. Margaret. She's pregnant, I said numbly. She's actually pregnant. Marcus shook his head. We don't know that for sure. She could be bluffing. But I knew she wasn't. I could see it in her eyes. She'd already won, or so she thought. Because 3 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Hale? A woman's voice. Nervous, young, yes. My name is Vanessa. I'm the one Layla was texting. My heart stopped. How did you get my number? I saw the news about the private investigator, about what Layla's been doing, and I can't keep quiet anymore. What do you mean? Vanessa took a shaky breath. She's not pregnant, she's lying. She told me she was going to fake a pregnancy to trap Ethan. She has a whole plan. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. Can you prove it? I have texts, voicemails, everything. I closed my eyes. Will you testify? There was a long pause, then quietly, yes. For the first time in weeks, I felt something like hope. Vanessa sent me everything that same night. Screenshots, voice memos, videos. I sat at my kitchen table and went through it all, piece by piece, my hands trembling so badly I could barely hold my phone. There were texts from just 2 days ago. Layla writing to Vanessa about how she'd bought a fake pregnancy test online, how she was going to show it to Ethan that weekend, how she'd already scheduled a fake ultrasound appointment with a doctor friend who owed her a favor. He'll never leave me once he thinks there's a baby, Layla had written, and his mom will look insane if she tries to say otherwise. Vanessa had responded with a string of laughing emojis. I felt nauseous reading it. This wasn't just manipulation. This was psychopathic. There was a voice memo too. I pressed play, even though part of me didn't want to hear it. Layla's voice came through, bright and cheerful. So I told Margaret I'm pregnant, and you should have seen her face. She looked like someone died. Ethan's going to announce it to everyone this weekend, and then she'll have zero leverage. Even if she shows him all that fake evidence she supposedly has, he won't care. No one leaves a pregnant wife. Vanessa laughed in the background. You're so bad. I'm strategic, Layla corrected. There's a difference. The recording ended. I sat there in silence, staring at my phone. This was it. This was everything I needed. Undeniable proof that Layla was lying. That she'd orchestrated this entire thing, but I knew it still wouldn't be enough. Not for Ethan. Not yet. Because Layla was right about one thing. If I just dumped this on him, he'd think I was crazy, desperate, a bitter mother who couldn't let go. I needed him to see it himself, to catch her in the lie before she could spin it. I called Angela immediately. We need to move fast, I said. Ethan's going to announce the pregnancy this weekend. If we don't stop her before then, we lose. Angela was quiet for a moment. What are you thinking? We confront her, in front of Ethan, force her to prove she's pregnant. She'll have a fake test, you know that. Then we demand a real one, a blood test, at a clinic, right then and there. Angela hesitated. Margaret, you're talking about ambushing them. That could backfire badly. I don't care. I'm not letting her trap him like this. There was a long pause. Then Angela sighed. Okay, but we do this smart. We get Ethan somewhere neutral. We bring Vanessa, and we don't give Layla any time to prepare. I agreed, and we started planning. The next day I texted Ethan. It was the first time I'd reached out since he told me to stop contacting him. I need to see you. It's important, please, just 1 hour. I didn't expect a response. But 20 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Fine, tomorrow, noon, the cafe on 5th. Short, cold. But it was something. I replied immediately. Thank you. I'll see you then. I didn't tell him Layla wasn't invited. I didn't tell him Angela and Vanessa would be there. I didn't tell him what was coming. I just hoped he'd show up. The next morning, I barely slept. I kept running through the plan in my head, over and over, looking for holes, looking for ways Layla could slip through. Angela and I arrived at the cafe early. Vanessa was already there, sitting in the corner, looking terrified. Are you sure about this? She asked when I sat down. No, I admitted, but I don't have a choice. Vanessa nodded. She looked young, maybe 25. She had dark hair pulled into a ponytail and nervous eyes that kept darting toward the door. How do you know Layla? I asked gently. Vanessa bit her lip. We were roommates in college. She's always been like this. She finds people she can use and she bleeds them dry. I stayed friends with her because I was scared of what she'd do if I didn't. Did she ever do this to anyone else? Vanessa nodded. Her first husband. She convinced him to take out a huge loan for a business she said they'd start together. Then she divorced him and left him with all the debt. My stomach turned, and no one stopped her. He was too embarrassed to press charges. She's good at making people feel like they're the problem. I understood that feeling. I'd been living it for months. At exactly noon, Ethan walked through the door. He was alone. I felt a rush of relief and then immediate dread. Where was Layla? Ethan saw me and stopped. His face was unreadable. He looked tired, older than he had a few months ago. He walked over slowly and sat down across from me. He didn't say anything, just stared. Thank you for coming, I said quietly. He didn't respond. Angela cleared her throat. Ethan, I'm Angela, your mother's attorney, and this is Vanessa. Ethan's eyes narrowed. What's going on? We need to talk to you about Layla, I said. His face hardened immediately. No, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. He started to stand, but I reached across the table and grabbed his hand. Ethan, please, just listen. 5 minutes. If you still want to leave after that, I won't stop you. He looked at my hand on his. For a moment I thought he'd pull away, but he didn't. He sat back down. 5 minutes, he said. Angela pulled out her tablet and opened a file. We have evidence that Layla has been manipulating you, financially, emotionally, and socially. We have text messages where she admits to isolating you from your mother. We have proof that she's been accessing your mother's financial information without permission. And we have a witness. Ethan looked at Vanessa. Who are you? Vanessa's voice shook. I'm Layla's friend, or I was. She's been lying to you, Ethan, about a lot of things. Lying about what? I took a deep breath. This was it, the moment everything could fall apart. She's not pregnant, I said. Ethan stared at me. What? She's lying. She's planning to fake a pregnancy to trap you. Ethan's face went red. That's insane. You're insane. She bought a fake pregnancy test online, Vanessa said quickly. She told me about it. She's going to show it to you this weekend and then schedule a fake ultrasound. Why the hell would she do that? Because she knows I'm trying to show you who she really is, I said. And she needs leverage. If you think she's pregnant, you won't leave her, even if you find out the truth. Ethan stood up. I'm done. This is sick. Then ask her to take a blood test, Angela said calmly. Right now. We'll go to a clinic, get the results in an hour. If she's pregnant, we'll apologize and leave you alone. If she's not, she is, Ethan interrupted. She showed me the test yesterday. A test she bought online, Vanessa said. I have the receipt. She sent it to me. Vanessa pulled out her phone and showed him a screenshot. It was from an online store. The item description read, positive pregnancy test, guaranteed results. Ethan stared at it. His face went pale. This doesn't prove anything, he said, but his voice wavered. Then prove us wrong, I said. Call her. Tell her to meet us at a clinic. If she's really pregnant, she'll have no problem doing it. Ethan looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time in months I saw doubt in his eyes. He pulled out his phone. He called Layla. She answered on the second ring. Hey, babe, what's up? Ethan's voice was tight. Where are you? At home. Why? I need you to meet me somewhere. Right now? I'm in the middle of... Now, Layla. There was a pause. Is everything okay? Just meet me at the clinic on 7th, the one near the pharmacy. Another pause, longer this time. Why? Because I want you to take a blood test. Silence. Ethan, what's going on? Just do it, Layla, please. I could hear the tension in his voice, the crack in his certainty. Layla's tone shifted, became softer, sweeter. Babe, I already took a test. You saw it. Why do I need to take another one? Because my mother says you're lying. Layla laughed. It sounded forced. Your mother is delusional. You know that. Then prove her wrong. I don't need to prove anything. I'm your wife. You should trust me. Ethan closed his eyes. Layla, if you're really pregnant, this should be easy. Just meet me at the clinic. One blood test, that's all. There was a long, heavy silence. Then Layla said very quietly, I can't believe you'd ask me to do this. I can't believe you won't, Ethan replied. The line went dead. Ethan stared at his phone. His hand was shaking. She hung up on me, he said. Angela leaned forward. Ethan, if she was really pregnant, she'd have no reason to refuse. Ethan didn't respond. He just kept staring at his phone. Then it rang. Layla's name flashed on the screen. He answered. Layla, how dare you? Her voice was sharp, angry. How dare you accuse me of lying? After everything I've done for you, after everything I've put up with. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just asking you to take a test. Because your psychotic mother told you to. She's been trying to destroy us from the beginning and you're letting her. Then take the test. No. I'm not going to humiliate myself because she's manipulating you. Ethan's jaw tightened. If you don't take the test, I'm going to assume she's right. Layla's voice turned cold. If you don't trust me, then maybe we shouldn't be married. She hung up again. Ethan sat there, phone in hand, looking like his entire world had just collapsed. I wanted to reach out, to hug him, to tell him it would be okay, but I didn't. I just waited. Finally, he looked up at me. His eyes were red. What else do you have? He asked quietly. Angela and I spent the next hour showing him everything, the texts, the voice memos, the financial records, Vanessa's testimony. Ethan didn't say much. He just listened. His face got paler with every piece of evidence. When we finished, he sat back in his chair and stared at the ceiling. I'm an idiot, he said finally. No, I said quickly, you're not. She's good at this. She's done it before. Ethan looked at me. How long have you known? A few weeks. And you didn't tell me? I tried. You wouldn't listen. He closed his eyes. I'm sorry. The words hit me harder than I expected. I felt tears sting my eyes. You don't have to apologize, I said. Yes, I do. I chose her over you. I believed her when she said you were controlling. I let her convince me you were the problem. His voice broke on the last word. I reached across the table and took his hand. She's very convincing. Ethan shook his head. That's not an excuse. You're my mother. I should have trusted you. We sat there in silence for a long time. Angela excused herself quietly. Vanessa followed. It was just me and Ethan. What do I do now? He asked. You confront her, I said. You tell her you know the truth, and you end it. Ethan nodded slowly. She's going to deny everything. Let her. You have proof. He looked at me. Will you come with me? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to say yes, to be there when Layla's lies finally caught up with her, but I knew it wasn't my place. This is something you need to do on your own, I said gently, but I'll be here when it's over. Ethan nodded. He stood up, gave me a long hug, and left. I sat there alone in the cafe, staring at my cold coffee, praying I'd done the right thing. 3 hours later, Ethan called. It's done, he said. His voice was hollow. What happened? She denied everything, said Vanessa was lying, said you paid people to make up evidence. She even showed me the pregnancy test again. My heart sank. Ethan? I told her I didn't believe her. I told her I wanted a divorce. I exhaled. How did she react? Ethan laughed bitterly. She cried, begged me not to leave, said she'd do anything. Then when that didn't work, she got angry, told me I'd regret this, that I'd never find anyone who loved me the way she did. I'm sorry. Don't be. You were right about all of it. I closed my eyes. Are you okay? No, but I will be. We talked for a little while longer. He told me he was staying at a hotel, that he'd already contacted a divorce attorney, that he was going to start untangling his life from hers. Before he hung up, he said, Mom? Yeah? Thank you for not giving up on me. I started crying. I'll never give up on you. That night, I thought it was over. I thought Layla would accept the divorce and disappear like she had with her other victims. I was wrong. 2 days later, I got a call from Ethan. He sounded panicked. She's not leaving, he said. What do you mean? She's refusing to sign the papers. She's saying she's going to fight the divorce. And she's threatening to go public with lies about me, about you. She says she'll destroy both of us if I don't take her back. My blood went cold. She's bluffing. I don't think she is, Mom. She's desperate, and desperate people are dangerous. He was right. Layla called me that afternoon. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Margaret, her voice was calm, too calm. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. I think you do, because if you don't back off, I'm going to make sure Ethan loses everything. His job, his reputation, his future. You can't. I can, and I will. I have friends in the media. I have lawyers. I'll tell everyone that Ethan abused me, that you manipulated him into leaving me. By the time I'm done, no one will hire him. No one will trust him. My hands were shaking. You're lying. Am I? Try me. She hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling sick. She wasn't going to go quietly. She was going to burn everything down, and I had no idea how to stop her. That's when Angela called with an idea, a dangerous idea, but the only one we had left. We set her up, Angela said. One more time. We get her to incriminate herself on tape, admitting to the lies, admitting to the blackmail, and then we hand it over to the authorities. She'll never admit to it. She will if she thinks she's won, if she thinks she's untouchable. I didn't like it, but I was out of options. We arranged a meeting, just me and Layla, at a park, neutral ground. I wore a wire, a tiny recording device hidden under my jacket. Angela and Marcus were parked nearby, listening. Layla showed up exactly on time. She looked perfect, as always. Designer coat, perfect makeup, like she hadn't just threatened to ruin my son's life. Margaret, she said, sitting down on the bench beside me, I'm glad you came. What do you want? I asked. I want you to convince Ethan to drop the divorce. Why would I do that? Layla smiled. Because if you don't, I'll destroy him. I'll make sure he never works again. I'll tell everyone he's abusive, controlling, just like his mother. You can't prove any of that. I don't need to prove it. I just need to say it. People believe women, Margaret, especially when they're crying on camera. My stomach turned. You're evil. Layla laughed. I'm practical. Ethan has a good future ahead of him, or he did, until you poisoned him against me. I showed him the truth. You showed him lies, fabricated evidence, paid testimony, but that's okay, because I'm willing to forgive all of it if you back off. And if I don't, Layla leaned closer, her voice dropped. Then I'll take everything. I'll make sure Ethan ends up broke and alone. And you'll spend the rest of your life watching him suffer, knowing it's your fault. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw it clearly now. The emptiness behind her eyes, the complete lack of empathy. She wasn't human. Not really. You're not going to win, I said quietly. Layla smiled. I already have. She stood up and walked away. I sat there for a moment, heart pounding, then pulled out my phone. Did you get it? I asked Angela. Every word. 2 days later, Angela handed the recording over to the police, along with everything else we'd gathered, the fake pregnancy scheme, the financial manipulation, the blackmail threats. It wasn't enough for criminal charges, but it was enough to get a restraining order, and it was enough to make sure Layla's threats were empty. Ethan filed for divorce again. This time Layla didn't fight it, but she didn't go quietly either. She posted on social media long tearful rants about how she'd been betrayed, how Ethan's controlling mother had destroyed her marriage, how she was the real victim. Some people believed her, a lot of people actually. But Ethan didn't care. He was done. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. And for the first time in a long time, I could breathe again. But the damage was done. Ethan was different now. Quieter, more guarded. He'd been broken by someone he loved. And I didn't know if he'd ever fully recover. I thought the worst was over. I really did. The restraining order was in place. The divorce was final. Layla had moved out of Ethan's apartment and supposedly left the state. Her social media went dark. No more tearful posts. No more accusations. For 2 weeks it was quiet. Too quiet. Ethan moved back into his apartment, but he wasn't the same. He barely ate, barely slept. He'd call me some nights just to talk, and I could hear the exhaustion in his voice. The shame. I should have seen it, he'd say. All the signs were there. I just didn't want to look. You loved her, I'd reply. That's not a weakness. It feels like one. I didn't know how to fix that. I didn't know how to give him back the trust she'd stolen. All I could do was be there and hope that was enough. Then, 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from Marcus. We have a problem, he said. My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Layla's back in the city, and she's been asking around about Ethan, his schedule, where he works, who he's been seeing. Why? Marcus hesitated. I don't know, but people don't do surveillance unless they're planning something. I called Ethan immediately. Have you seen Layla? I asked. No, why? Marcus says she's been asking about you, following you, maybe. Ethan went quiet. I haven't seen her, but a few of my co-workers mentioned someone showed up at the office last week asking for me. They said it was a woman, but she left before I came back from lunch. My chest tightened. Ethan, you need to be careful. If she's stalking you, she's not stalking me, Mom. She's just bitter. She'll get over it. You don't know that. I'm fine, I promise. But I didn't believe him, and I didn't trust Layla to just fade away. 2 days later, Ethan called me in the middle of the night. His voice was shaking. Mom, someone broke into my apartment. I sat up, heart pounding. What? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I wasn't here. I was at a friend's place. But when I came back, the door was open. The lock was broken. Did they take anything? That's the thing. Nothing's missing. But everything's been moved, like someone went through all my stuff. Did you call the police? They just left. They said it was probably a burglary attempt, but I don't think so. I think it was Layla. I didn't doubt it for a second. What was she looking for? I don't know. Documents maybe? Proof that I have money? I have no idea. Ethan, you need to get out of there. Stay with me tonight. He agreed. And when he showed up at my apartment an hour later, he looked wrecked. Hair disheveled, dark circles under his eyes. I can't do this anymore, he said, collapsing onto my couch. I can't keep looking over my shoulder. I know, but we'll figure it out. How? She's not going to stop. You know that, right? She's going to keep coming after me until she gets what she wants. And what does she want? Ethan looked at me. Money, control, revenge, maybe all three. He was right, and I had no idea how to protect him from someone who had nothing left to lose. The next morning I called Angela. We need to escalate this, I said. The restraining order isn't enough. She broke into his apartment. Did he file a police report? Yes, but the cop said there's no proof it was her. Angela sighed. Without evidence, there's not much we can do, but I'll reach out to the prosecutor's office, see if we can get the restraining order upgraded. It wasn't enough. I knew it wasn't enough, but it was all we had. That afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. You think you've won, Margaret, but you haven't, not even close. I stared at the message, blood running cold. It was her. It had to be. I showed it to Ethan. He went pale. Block the number, he said. That's not going to stop her. Then what do you want me to do? We have a restraining order. We have lawyers. What else is there? I didn't have an answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the break-in, about the text, about the look in Layla's eyes when she'd threatened to destroy us. She wasn't done, and I needed to figure out her next move before she made it. The next morning, I got a call from Vanessa. Margaret, I need to tell you something. What is it? Layla contacted me last night. She wanted to meet up. My heart stopped. Did you go? No, but she kept calling. She left voicemail. She sounded desperate. What did she say? Vanessa hesitated. She said she needed my help, that Ethan was trying to ruin her life, that you were paying people to lie about her. She wanted me to recant my testimony. What did you tell her? I didn't respond. But Margaret, she's spiraling. I've seen her like this before. She's going to do something bad. Like what? I don't know, but when Layla feels cornered, she lashes out, and she doesn't care who gets hurt. I thanked Vanessa and hung up. Then I called Marcus. I need you to follow her. Layla, I need to know what she's planning. That's going to cost extra. I don't care. Just do it. Marcus agreed, and for the next 3 days he tracked Layla's every move. She met with lawyers. She met with a man Marcus didn't recognize. She spent hours at a copy shop printing documents. On the 4th day, Marcus called me. She's filing a lawsuit, he said. Against who? You and Ethan. She's claiming defamation, emotional distress, and she's asking for $2 million in damages. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. She can't do that. She can, and she is. The papers were filed this morning. I sat down, head spinning. This is insane. She has no case. She doesn't need a case. She just needs to drag you through court, make it expensive, make it public. She's betting you'll settle just to make it go away. I'm not settling. Then prepare for a long fight. I called Angela immediately. She'd already heard. This is a nuisance suit, she said. It's designed to intimidate you, but we can fight it. How much is it going to cost? Angela hesitated. Tens of thousands, maybe more, depending on how long it drags out. I closed my eyes. She's trying to bleed me dry. That's exactly what she's doing. But Margaret, you have evidence on your side. The recordings, the text, Vanessa's testimony. We can win this. And in the meantime, we keep our heads down and we don't give her anything to use against us. But Layla wasn't waiting for court. 2 days later, she went public. She posted a video on social media. It was 8 minutes long. In it, she sat in front of the camera, makeup-free, crying, telling her version of the story. She said Ethan had been emotionally abusive, that I had manipulated him into leaving her, that we'd fabricated evidence to make her look like a liar, that she was pregnant when he filed for divorce and the stress caused her to miscarry. It was all lies, every single word, but it didn't matter. The video went viral. Within 24 hours, it had been viewed over 1 million times. People were commenting, sharing, taking sides. Most of them believed her. Ethan called me panicking. Mom, it's everywhere. People at work are talking about it. My boss pulled me aside and asked if it was true. What did you tell him? I told him it was all lies, but I don't think he believed me. We'll fix this. Angela's drafting a response. We'll show people the truth. It's too late. The damage is done. He was right. By the end of the week, Ethan had been put on administrative leave from his job. Pending an investigation, they said, but we both knew what that meant. Layla was winning, and I had no idea how to stop her. That's when Angela came to me with a plan. We go nuclear, she said. We release everything, the recordings, the texts, the fake pregnancy evidence, all of it. We blow her story apart so completely that no one can deny the truth. And if it doesn't work, then we lose. But if we don't do something, she's going to bury you both anyway. I thought about it for a long time, about the risk, about what it would mean to put everything out in the open, but I didn't have a choice. Do it, I said. Angela worked fast. She compiled everything into a single document, a timeline, evidence, testimony, irrefutable proof that Layla had orchestrated the entire thing. Then she posted it online, on every platform Layla had used to spread her lies. Within hours, the narrative started to shift. People who'd believed Layla began questioning her story. Journalists started picking up the evidence. A few influencers with large followings shared the document, calling Layla out for her manipulation. The tide was turning. But Layla wasn't done. She doubled down, posted more videos, more accusations. She claimed the evidence was fabricated, that Vanessa had been paid to lie, that I doctored the recordings. Some people still believed her, but fewer than before. And then Vanessa did something I didn't expect. She went public herself. She posted her own video. In it, she confirmed everything Angela had released. She showed her text conversations with Layla. She explained how Layla had manipulated her for years, how she'd been too afraid to speak up until now. I'm done protecting her, Vanessa said into the camera. She's a liar, a con artist, and she destroys everyone she touches. Don't let her do it to you. The video was shared even more than Layla's. And finally the truth broke through. News outlets started covering the story, not as a he said, she said, but as an investigation. They interviewed Layla's ex-husbands. They found court records. They uncovered a pattern of behavior that couldn't be ignored. Layla's lawsuit fell apart. Her lawyer dropped her. Her social media accounts were suspended for harassment. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I felt like we might actually survive it. But Layla had one more card to play. A week later, I got a call from the police. Mrs. Hale, we need you to come down to the station. It's about Layla Ross. What about her? She's been arrested. I felt a rush of relief. For what? Fraud, extortion, harassment. We've been building a case for the last 2 weeks based on the evidence you and your attorney provided. We have enough to charge her. I could barely breathe. Is she in jail? For now. Bail hearings tomorrow. I thanked them and hung up. Then I called Ethan. It's over, I said. She's been arrested. Ethan didn't say anything for a long time, then quietly, is it really over? I think so. But I was wrong, because the next day Layla made bail. And 2 days after that she disappeared. No one knew where she went. Her apartment was empty. Her phone was disconnected. It was like she'd vanished into thin air. The police issued a warrant, but without any leads there wasn't much they could do. Ethan was paranoid. He kept looking over his shoulder, jumping at every noise. She's going to come back, he said. I know she is. We'll be ready. But I wasn't sure we would be. For weeks we waited. Ethan stayed with me. We installed new locks, security cameras, an alarm system. And every day I expected her to show up, but she didn't. Months passed. The lawsuit was dismissed. Ethan got his job back. The police stopped actively searching for Layla, though the warrant remained active. Slowly, life started to feel normal again, but the damage was still there. Ethan was different, more guarded, less trusting, and I couldn't blame him. Layla had taken something from him that he'd never get back. Then, 6 months after she disappeared, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name, handwritten on the envelope. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single piece of paper. "You won this time, Margaret, but I'm not done. I'll never be done. You took everything from me, and one day when you least expect it, I'll take everything from you." It wasn't signed, but I knew who it was from. I showed it to the police. They added it to the file, but there was nothing they could do. Layla was out there, somewhere, waiting, and I had no idea if she'd ever really be gone. But I refused to live in fear. I'd fought too hard, lost too much. I wasn't going to let her win by making me afraid, so I threw the letter away, locked my doors, and kept living, because that's all I could do, and some days that was enough. A year passed, then another. Ethan slowly came back to himself. Not the same version he'd been before Layla, but someone stronger, someone who'd learned the difference between love and manipulation. He started therapy, actually stuck with it this time. He told me once, during one of our Sunday dinners that had finally become regular again, that his therapist said he'd been conditioned to associate love with sacrifice, that Layla had exploited that. "She saw what Dad leaving did to us," he said, pushing food around his plate. "She knew I'd do anything to avoid abandoning someone the way he abandoned you." I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "Your father's choices weren't your responsibility, and neither were Layla's. I know that now, but it took me a long time to believe it." We ate in comfortable silence after that. These were the moments I'd fought for, the quiet ones, the normal ones. But Layla's letter still sat in a drawer in my bedroom. I hadn't thrown it away like I'd told myself I would. Some nights when I couldn't sleep, I'd take it out and read it again, remind myself that the threat was still out there. Angela thought I was being paranoid. "She's gone, Margaret. She's not coming back. People like her move on to the next victim." Maybe she was right, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Layla wasn't done with us yet. I was right. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 14 months after Layla disappeared, when everything came crashing back. Ethan called me from work. His voice was strange, tight. "Mom, I need you to come to my office right now." "What's wrong?" "Just come, please." I grabbed my coat and was out the door in minutes. The entire drive, my mind raced through possibilities. Had something happened at work? Was he sick? Had Layla surfaced? When I got to his building, Ethan was waiting in the lobby. His face was pale. His hands were shaking. "What happened?" I asked. He handed me his phone without a word. On the screen was an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "The truth about Ethan Hale." I opened it. Inside was a document, pages and pages of fabricated evidence. Fake bank statements showing Ethan embezzling money from his company, forged emails suggesting he'd been stealing client information, screenshots of messages he'd never sent, saying things he'd never said. It was all fake, every word of it, but it looked real, professional, convincing. "Who sent this?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Everyone," Ethan said, his voice hollow. "My boss, the entire executive team. Our biggest clients, half the people in my industry. It went to everyone." My blood went cold. "Layla, it has to be. Who else would do this?" I scrolled through the document, my hand shaking. It was sophisticated, professional. Someone had spent serious time and money creating this. The bank statements had official-looking headers. The emails had timestamps and metadata. To anyone who didn't know better, it would look completely legitimate. "What did your boss say?" Ethan laughed bitterly. He said I'm suspended pending an investigation again. He said even if it's not true, the optics are bad enough that they might have to let me go anyway. They can't afford the scandal. That's insane. This is obviously fabricated. Doesn't matter. The damage is done. By tomorrow, everyone in the industry will have seen this. My reputation is destroyed. No one's going to hire someone accused of embezzlement, even if it's not true. I wanted to scream, to find Layla and make her pay for what she was doing. But instead, I pulled Ethan into a hug. "We'll fix this," I said. "We fixed it before. We'll fix it again." But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. This felt different. More calculated, more vicious. We went straight to Angela's office. She took one look at the email and her face went grim. This is cyber harassment, defamation, possibly wire fraud, depending on how she sent it. We can go after her for this. Great, Ethan said. Except we don't know where she is. She could be anywhere. Angela nodded slowly. Then we find her. Marcus is still available, right? I called Marcus immediately. He agreed to start tracking the email's origin. It would take time, he said, but he was confident he could trace it back to Layla. In the meantime, Angela drafted a letter to Ethan's company, explaining that the document was fabricated and threatening legal action if they terminated him without a proper investigation. It bought us a week, but the damage to Ethan's reputation was already spreading like wildfire. People in his industry talked. Rumors became facts. Within 3 days, 2 major clients had pulled their contracts, citing concerns about ethical practices. Another client demanded a full audit before they'd continue working with the firm. Ethan's boss called him in for a meeting, told him it might be best if he resigned. For everyone's sake, he said. Ethan came home that night and didn't speak for hours. Just sat on my couch, staring at the wall. I made him dinner. He didn't touch it. She's going to win, he said finally, his voice flat. She's going to take everything from me and there's nothing I can do about it. That's not true. Yes, it is. She's out there somewhere, untouchable, and I'm here watching my life fall apart piece by piece. My job, my reputation, everything I've worked for, gone. I sat beside him. Then we make her touchable. We find her. We stop her. Permanently. Ethan looked at me with dead eyes. How? She's a ghost. She's been hiding for over a year. The police can't find her. What makes you think we can? Because we're not the police. And we know her. We know how she thinks. Do we? Because I thought I knew her. I thought I loved her. And look where that got me. I took his hand. You loved who you thought she was. That's not your fault. But now we know who she really is. And we can use that. Ethan didn't respond. He just closed his eyes and leaned back against the couch. I stayed with him that night, made up the guest room, checked on him every few hours to make sure he was still breathing, still there. Because I'd seen that look in his eyes before, when his father left, when he was 8 years old and thought it was his fault. That look that said he was done fighting. And I refused to let Layla take that from him too. Marcus called 5 days later. I traced the email, he said. It was sent from a coffee shop in Portland. Public Wi-Fi. No cameras inside the shop. So it's a dead end. Not quite. I talked to the staff. They remember a woman matching Layla's description. She was there for hours, using a laptop, ordered the same drink 3 times, left around closing time. Did they see where she went? No, but I checked hotels in the area. Found one where a woman matching her description checked in 2 days before the email was sent, paid cash, used a fake name, Sarah Mitchell. Is she still there? No, she checked out the day after the email went out. But here's the interesting part. The hotel has security footage. My heart jumped. And? I got a copy. It's definitely her. She's changed her hair, lost some weight, but it's Layla. Can we use that? Already sent it to the police. They've updated the warrant with the new information. But Margaret, there's something else. What? The laptop she was using? She left it behind, in the coffee shop. My breath caught. What? She got careless, left in a hurry. The coffee shop found it after she left. They've been holding it in their lost and found for a week, hoping someone would claim it. I convinced them to let me take a look before they wiped it and donated it. And it's full of her files, drafts of the fake documents she sent to Ethan's company, emails to people she's trying to recruit to help her, instructions on how to create fake identities, and a folder labeled Phase 2. My stomach dropped. Phase 2? She's been planning this for months, Margaret. The email to Ethan's company was just the beginning. She's got files on you too, bank statements, property records, medical history. She's been researching your entire life. What's she planning? I don't know yet, but it's big. There are notes about insurance fraud, identity theft, Something about a trust fund. She's building up to something major. I hung up and sat down hard on the couch. Ethan had been right. Layla wasn't done. She'd just been waiting, planning, building her case. And now she was coming for both of us. I told Ethan everything. He didn't take it well. We need to go to the police, he said, right now. This is evidence. Real evidence. And tell them what? That she's researching me. They can't do anything unless she actually commits a crime. Breaking into computers is a crime. It's her laptop, Ethan. Technically, she didn't break into anything. She just left it behind. Ethan stood up, pacing my living room like a caged animal. So what do we do? Just wait for her to strike? Wait for her to destroy you the way she destroyed me? No, we set a trap. We make her come to us. That's insane. Maybe, but it's the only way we're going to catch her. She's too smart to make a mistake on her own. We have to force her hand. Angela thought I was insane when I told her the plan. You want to bait her? Margaret, this woman is dangerous. She's escalating. The fake pregnancy was manipulation. The lawsuit was harassment. But this is targeted, calculated destruction. If you give her an opening, there's no telling what she'll do. I know, but she's also arrogant. If we give her an opportunity that's too good to pass up, she'll take it. She won't be able to help herself. And if it goes wrong, if she hurts you or worse, then at least we tried. At least we didn't just sit back and let her pick us apart, piece by piece. Angela looked at me for a long time, then she sighed. What did you have in mind? The plan was simple. I'd spread a rumor that I was selling my apartment and moving out of state, that I'd be liquidating my assets to fund the move, which meant large cash transactions, the kind of opportunity someone like Layla couldn't resist. We planted the story carefully. I told a few people at work that I was thinking about relocating to be closer to Ethan. Mentioned it casually to my bank manager when I went in to update my account information. Made sure the details were vague enough to be believable, but specific enough to be interesting. Then we waited. The first week nothing happened. The second week I started to think maybe Layla really was gone. Maybe she'd moved on to her next victim and we'd never see her again. Then Marcus called. She's back, he said. I spotted her near your apartment building. She's watching you. My heart stopped. Are you sure it's her? Positive. Same car she was using in Portland. Oregon plates. She's changed her appearance again. Blonde hair now, sunglasses, but it's her. How long has she been there? 2 days that I know of. Could be longer. She's been parked across the street watching your building, taking notes, photographing people coming and going. What's she waiting for? My guess? She's trying to figure out your routine. When you're home, when you're vulnerable, when the building is least secure. I felt a chill run down my spine. Then let's give her what she wants. We planned it carefully. The next night I made a show of leaving my apartment with 2 large suitcases. Made sure to struggle with them a little to look like I was really moving. I took a cab to Angela's place and stayed there. My apartment was empty, but it wasn't unguarded. Marcus and 2 of his associates were inside, cameras running in every room, waiting in the dark. At 2 a.m., Layla broke in. Marcus called me immediately, whispering, "She's here. She just picked your lock." My hands started shaking. Is she alone? Yeah, she's good at this. Real good. Looks like she's done it before. I put the phone on speaker so Angela could hear. We listened to Marcus's whispered commentary as Layla moved through my apartment. She went straight for my bedroom, my desk, searching methodically through drawers. She found my financial documents, my passport, started photographing everything with her phone. She's in your office now, Marcus whispered. She's installing something on your computer, some kind of software. What kind of software? Looks like a keylogger. Something to track your passwords, your bank accounts. Angela grabbed my arm. That's identity theft. That's a felony. We listened for another 20 minutes as Layla worked. She was thorough, professional. She went through my closet, my bathroom, even my kitchen, looking for anything she could use. Finally, she left. Locked the door behind her like she'd never been there. Marcus waited 5 minutes to make sure she was really gone. Then he called again. We got her, he said. Clear footage, breaking and entering, installing malicious software, theft of documents. It's all on video. She's done. I called the police immediately, gave them everything, the video, the laptop files Marcus had recovered, the fake documents she'd sent to Ethan's company, the emails, everything we'd been collecting for months. They took it seriously this time, issued a warrant for her arrest immediately. We'll find her, the detective said. She can't have gone far. But Layla was smarter than that. She'd disappeared again. The car with Oregon plates was abandoned in a parking garage. The hotel she'd been staying at was empty, paid for in cash under another fake name. For 3 days there was nothing. The police searched, put out alerts, checked bus stations and airports. Nothing. Then on the 4th day they got a tip. Someone had seen a woman matching Layla's description at a motel outside the city. She'd been there for 2 days, apparently waiting for something. The police raided the room at dawn. Layla didn't run, didn't fight. She just sat on the bed, calm as anything, and let them handcuff her. When they searched the room, they found everything. Forged documents with my name on them, fake IDs, equipment for making counterfeit bank statements, a laptop with detailed plans for stealing my identity and draining my accounts, and files on 5 other people she'd been researching, building cases against, preparing to destroy. Ethan and I weren't her only targets. We were just the latest in a long line. The detective called me personally. Mrs. Hale, I need you to know something. If you hadn't set that trap, if you hadn't caught her when you did, she would have destroyed you. Financially, legally, maybe even physically. She had plans. Detailed, methodical plans. This woman is dangerous. I know, I said quietly. That's why we had to stop her. The trial took 8 months to start. Layla's lawyer tried every trick in the book. Tried to get the video evidence thrown out. Tried to claim entrapment. Tried to paint her as a victim of a vindictive ex-husband and his controlling mother who'd orchestrated the whole thing. But the evidence was overwhelming. The fake pregnancy, the fabricated documents sent to Ethan's company, the break-in caught on video, the identity theft plans, the harassment, the blackmail, the 5 other victims who came forward with their own stories once they heard about the arrest. The prosecution built an airtight case. They showed the jury everything. The text messages where Layla admitted to manipulating Ethan, the voice recordings, Vanessa's testimony, the laptop files with her detailed plans. Layla sat through it all with the same blank expression, never cried, never showed emotion, just stared straight ahead like she was watching a movie about someone else's life. When it came time for her to testify, her lawyer advised against it, but Layla insisted. She took the stand and told her version of the story, said she'd loved Ethan, that I'd poisoned him against her because I couldn't stand to see him happy, that everything she'd done was out of desperation, out of heartbreak. She was convincing. I had to give her that. She cried at the right moments. Her voice broke when she talked about losing Ethan. She looked at the jury with those big, sad eyes and played the victim perfectly. But then the prosecutor started cross-examining her. He asked her about the fake pregnancy test. She said she'd been mistaken, that she'd really thought she was pregnant. He asked her about the text messages to Vanessa. She said they'd been taken out of context. He asked her about the 5 other victims. She said she'd never met them. Then he pulled out bank records. Showed that she'd received over $300,000 from her 2 ex-husbands in the years before she met Ethan. Showed that she'd opened credit cards in their names, drained their accounts. He showed emails she'd sent to a friend bragging about how easy it was to manipulate rich, lonely men. He showed the laptop files, the detailed plans to steal my identity, the notes about how to maximize the damage to Ethan's career. Layla's mask started to crack. She got defensive, angry, started contradicting herself. The prosecutor pushed harder, asked her why she'd been researching 5 other people if she was just a heartbroken ex-wife. Layla snapped. Because people like Margaret deserve it, she shouted. People who have everything and take it for granted. People who don't appreciate what they have. They deserve to lose it. The courtroom went silent. Layla seemed to realize what she'd said. Her face went pale. She tried to backtrack, but it was too late. The prosecutor smiled. No further questions. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Ethan sat beside me when the verdict was read. He didn't cry, didn't cheer, just squeezed my hand. "It's really over," he whispered. "Yeah," I said, "it's really over." The sentencing hearing was 2 weeks later. The judge looked at Layla with open disgust. "Ms. Vance, in my 30 years on the bench, I have rarely seen such calculated, systematic cruelty. You targeted vulnerable people. You exploited their trust. You destroyed their lives for your own financial gain. And you showed no remorse whatsoever." Layla stared back at him, expressionless. "You are hereby sentenced to 8 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. You will be required to pay restitution to all of your victims, and you will be permanently barred from accessing financial accounts that are not in your name. 8 years. It should have felt like justice, like victory. But all I felt was tired. As they led Layla out of the courtroom, she turned and looked at me one last time, and she smiled. Not a smile of defeat, a smile that said, "I'm not done with you," but I didn't look away. I stared right back at her, and I thought, bring it on, because I'd already beaten her once, and I'd do it again if I had to. After the sentencing, things slowly started to return to normal. Ethan's company cleared his name publicly, issued a statement saying the accusations had been proven false and malicious, apologized for suspending him. They offered him his job back with a raise. He turned it down. "I can't go back there," he told me over dinner. "Every time I walk into that building, I'll remember what she did, what they believed about me. I need a fresh start." I understood, more than he knew. He got a new job at a smaller firm within a month. Better pay, better people. A boss who actually cared about his employees. He seemed lighter, happier. We started having Sunday dinners again, real ones, where we talked about normal things. Work, friends, movies we'd seen, the weather. It felt good, normal, like we were building something new from the ashes of what Layla had burned down. About 3 months after the trial, Ethan asked if he could bring someone to dinner. "A friend?" I asked. "Sort of. Her name is Claire. We've been seeing each other for a little while, nothing serious yet, but I wanted you to meet her." My stomach tightened. I tried not to let it show. "I'd love to meet her," I said. The next Sunday, Ethan showed up with Claire. She was nothing like Layla. Where Layla had been polished and perfect, Claire was casual and comfortable. Jeans and a sweater, minimal makeup, curly brown hair pulled back in a messy bun. She smiled when she saw me, a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "Mrs. Hale, it's so nice to meet you. Ethan talks about you all the time." "Good things, I hope," I said. "Always. He adores you." I liked her immediately, not because she was polite, not because she seemed nice, but because when Ethan looked at her, he looked relaxed, at ease, like he wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. We had dinner, talked about her work. She was a graphic designer, freelance, working mostly with small businesses and non-profits. "I like helping people tell their stories," she said. "There's something satisfying about taking someone's vision and making it real." She asked me about my work, about my life, but not in an invasive way, just genuine curiosity. When they left, Ethan hugged me tight. "What do you think?" he asked. "I think she's wonderful." "Yeah," he said, smiling. "Me too." They dated for 2 years. I watched Ethan bloom during that time. Watched him learn to trust again, to open up, to be vulnerable without fear. Claire was patient with him. She didn't push, didn't demand, just gave him space to heal. And slowly he did. When Ethan told me he was going to propose, I cried, not because I was worried, not because I was scared he'd make the same mistake twice, but because I knew he wouldn't. He'd learned, he'd grown, he'd done the work to understand what had happened with Layla and why. And he'd chosen someone who saw him as a partner, not a prize to be won or a bank account to be exploited. The proposal was simple, a walk in the park where they'd had their first date, down on one knee beside the fountain. She said yes. The wedding was a year later. Small, intimate, just family and close friends. Nothing like the cold, impersonal ceremony he'd had with Layla. This time, the planning was collaborative. Ethan and Claire chose everything together. The venue, the flowers, the music, and this time, I was involved. Claire asked me to help her pick out her dress. We spent an entire Saturday trying on different styles, laughing in the fitting rooms, eating overpriced salads afterward. "Thank you for this," she said over lunch. "My mom passed away when I was young. I always wondered what this would be like." I reached across the table and took her hand. "I'm honored to be here." The wedding day was perfect, sunny but not too hot, a gentle breeze. Everything went smoothly. And when it came time for speeches, Ethan asked if I would say something. I stood up, looked at my son and his new wife, and felt my throat tighten. "I'm not good at speeches," I started, "but I wanted to say something about love, real love, the kind that lasts." I looked at Ethan. I've watched my son go through hell. I've watched him be manipulated and hurt and nearly destroyed by someone who claimed to love him. And I've watched him come out the other side, stronger and wiser and braver than I ever thought possible. I looked at Claire. "And I've watched you love him through his healing. With patience and kindness and grace. You didn't try to fix him, you just stood beside him while he fixed himself." I raised my glass. That's what real love looks like. It's not grand gestures or perfect moments. It's showing up every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. To Ethan and Claire, may your love always be that kind of love. Everyone clinked glasses. Ethan wiped his eyes. Claire hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you." A year after the wedding, Claire got pregnant. Ethan called me in tears, happy tears this time. "I'm going to be a dad, Mom. Can you believe it?" I could, and I couldn't wait. The pregnancy wasn't easy. Claire had terrible morning sickness for the first 4 months. Then gestational diabetes in the 3rd trimester. Ethan called me almost every day, worried, asking for advice. "Is this normal? Should we be concerned? What if something's wrong?" "Breathe," I'd tell him. "You're doing great. She's doing great. The doctors are keeping a close eye on everything." But I understood his fear. After everything with Layla, the idea of something going wrong, of losing something precious, terrified him. The baby was born on a cold February morning at 3:47 a.m. A girl, 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Ethan called me from the hospital, his voice shaking. "She's here, Mom. She's perfect. Can you come?" I was already halfway out the door. When I got to the hospital, Ethan met me in the hallway. He looked exhausted and exhilarated and more alive than I'd seen him in years. He led me to Claire's room. She was sitting up in bed, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in pink. "Margaret," she said, smiling, "come meet your granddaughter." I walked over slowly. Claire pulled back the blanket, and there she was, tiny, perfect, with Ethan's nose and Claire's chin and eyes that were still that newborn blue-grey. "Do you want to hold her?" Claire asked. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Claire placed the baby in my arms, and I felt something crack open inside my chest. This tiny, perfect thing, this new life, this proof that love wins, that good things come after the bad, that healing is possible. "What's her name?" I asked. Ethan and Claire looked at each other. Then Ethan said, "Grace. We named her Grace Margaret Hale." I started crying. "You didn't have to." "Yes, we did," Ethan said. "You gave me grace when I didn't deserve it. You fought for me when I'd given up. We wanted to honor that." I held little Grace and cried. Happy tears, grateful tears, tears that washed away the last of the pain Layla had left behind. "Welcome to the world, sweetheart," I whispered. "You have no idea how much you're already loved." Grace grew fast. Before I knew it, she was crawling, then walking, then running around my apartment, laughing, getting into everything. I saw her almost every week, sometimes more. Ethan and Claire would drop her off while they went to dinner or a movie, and I'd spend the evening reading to her, playing with blocks, watching her discover the world. Those were the best nights of my life. One evening when Grace was almost 3, she climbed into my lap while we were reading and said, "Grandma, why do I only have one grandma?" My heart stopped. I looked at Ethan, who'd come to pick her up early. He nodded, giving me permission to answer. "Well, sweetheart," I said carefully, "your daddy's other grandma isn't around anymore, and your mommy's mommy went to heaven before you were born. So I'm the grandma you get. Is that okay?" Grace thought about this seriously. Then she nodded. "That's okay. You're the best grandma anyway." I hugged her tight, fighting back tears. Later, after Grace was in bed, Ethan stayed for a cup of tea. "She asked about Layla," he said. "I know. What do you want me to tell her when she's older?" Ethan was quiet for a long time. "The truth. Not all of it, but enough. I want her to know that people aren't always what they seem. That love should never hurt. That it's okay to walk away from people who are toxic, even if they're family. Those are hard lessons for a child. Yeah, but I'd rather she learn them from us in a safe way than learn them the way I did." I reached across the table and squeezed his hand. "You're a good father. I learned from the best." A few months after that conversation, I got a letter in the mail. It was from the prison where Layla was serving her sentence. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Part of me wanted to throw it away unread, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside, in Layla's neat handwriting, was a single page. "Margaret, I've had a lot of time to think in here about what I did, about who I was. The therapist they make me see says I have narcissistic personality disorder, that I lack empathy, that I see people as objects to be used. Maybe she's right. I don't know. What I do know is that I hate you. I hate that you won. I hate that Ethan chose you over me. I hate that you get to play happy family while I rot in here. But I also have to admit something. You were right about one thing. Love isn't about control. It's not about possession. I don't think I've ever really loved anyone. I don't think I know how. And maybe that's the real tragedy of my life. Not that I got caught, but that I'll never have what you have. That family, that unconditional devotion. I'll be out in 6 years with good behavior, maybe less. And when I get out, I'm going to disappear. You'll never hear from me again, not because I've changed, not because I'm sorry, but because I'm tired. Tired of fighting, tired of scheming, tired of pretending. So you win, Margaret, you and your perfect son and his perfect little family. I hope you're happy. Layla. I read it 3 times, looking for the threat, the manipulation, the hidden agenda, but it wasn't there. For the first time since I'd met her, Layla sounded honest. Broken, bitter, but honest. I showed the letter to Angela. "Do you believe her?" she asked. "I don't know. Part of me thinks it's just another game, another way to get under my skin." And the other part? The other part thinks maybe she really is tired. Maybe she really will disappear when she gets out. Angela folded the letter and handed it back to me. "Either way, you're prepared. You've got the restraining order, you've got the security measures, and you've got your family." "Yeah," I said, "I do." I kept the letter, filed it away with all the other evidence from the case. And I tried not to think about what would happen when Layla got out. 3 years passed. Grace started kindergarten. Ethan got promoted. Claire's design business took off. Life was good, normal, happy. And then, one Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from the prison. "Mrs. Hale, this is Warden Mitchell from Clearwater Correctional. I'm calling to inform you that Layla Vance was released this morning. She served her full sentence with time off for good behavior." My blood ran cold. Where did she go? I can't disclose that information, but I wanted you to know that the restraining order is still in effect. If she contacts you or comes within 500 feet of you or your family, call the police immediately. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called Ethan. "She's out," I said. There was a long silence. Then, "Okay, what do we do?" "We stay alert, we stick to the plan, and we live our lives." For the first few weeks, I was on edge constantly. Jumped at every noise, checked over my shoulder everywhere I went, but nothing happened. No calls, no letters, no mysterious sightings. It was like Lay's Layla had really disappeared. 6 months went by, then a year. Slowly, I started to relax, started to believe that maybe Layla had meant what she said in her letter, that she really was done. Then, on a random Thursday afternoon, I saw her. I was at the grocery store loading bags into my car when I looked up and saw a woman standing across the parking lot. Blonde hair, sunglasses, but I knew that posture, that stance. It was Layla. We stared at each other for a long moment, then she smiled, just a little, and walked away. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my groceries. Apples rolled across the pavement. I called the police immediately, filed a report. They said they'd look into it. But Layla was gone. No one could find her. No cameras caught her in the area. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe it wasn't really her. But I knew better. She was watching, reminding me that she was still out there, still capable of finding me if she wanted to. I told Ethan. He wanted to hire more security, move me into a gated community, but I refused. I'm not going to let her control my life, I said. Not anymore. She wanted me to live in fear. I'm not giving her that. So I didn't. I kept living, kept seeing Grace, kept having Sunday dinners, kept working and laughing and enjoying the life I'd built. And if sometimes I looked over my shoulder, checked the locks twice, kept the lights on a little longer at night, well, that was just being careful. Not afraid, just careful. Because here's what I learned through all of this. Evil people exist. Manipulators, liars, people who see others as nothing more than tools to be used and discarded. And you can't always stop them, can't always predict them, can't always protect yourself completely, but you can refuse to let them win. You can choose love over fear, connection over isolation, trust over suspicion. You can fight for the people you care about even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And you can build a life so full of good things that the bad things can't take root. That's what I did. That's what Ethan did. That's what we all did. We built something beautiful out of the ashes of what Layla tried to destroy. And no matter what happens next, whether Layla disappears forever or shows up again in 5 years or 10, we'll be ready. Because we're stronger now, smarter, more careful, but also more grateful, more appreciative of what we have. Grace is 5 now. She's smart and funny and kind. She loves dinosaurs and painting and asking impossible questions. Sometimes she asks about Grandma Margaret's life, about when I was young, about her daddy when he was little. I tell her stories, edited versions, age-appropriate lessons. I tell her about the importance of trusting your instincts, of standing up for yourself, of never letting anyone make you feel small. And someday, when she's old enough, I'll tell her the whole story about Layla, about what happened, about how we survived, not to scare her, but to prepare her. Because the world is full of people who will try to take advantage of kindness, who will mistake generosity for weakness, who will see love as something to exploit rather than treasure. And I want her to be ready. I want her to be strong enough to walk away from toxic people, smart enough to recognize manipulation, brave enough to fight for what matters, the way her father learned to be, the way I learned to be. Last Sunday, we had dinner at Ethan and Claire's house. Grace had made place cards for everyone, drew pictures of each of us. She'd drawn me with a crown. When I asked her why, she said, "Because you're the queen of the family, Grandma. Daddy told me." I looked at Ethan. He smiled. "It's true," he said. "You held us all together when everything was falling apart. You fought for us when we couldn't fight for ourselves. That makes you the queen." I felt tears sting my eyes. After dinner, Ethan and I stood on the back porch while Claire put Grace to bed. "Do you ever think about her?" he asked. "Layla?" "Sometimes. Do you?" "Yeah. Not as much as I used to, but sometimes I wonder where she is, what she's doing, if she really changed, or if that letter was just another manipulation." "Does it matter?" Ethan thought about this. "No, I guess it doesn't. She's not part of my life anymore. She doesn't get to be." Good. We stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunset. "Mom," Ethan said after a while. "Yeah? Thank you for never giving up on me, for fighting even when I told you to stop, for loving me enough to go to war for me." I squeezed his hand. "Always. That's what mothers do." "Not all mothers. You're special." I laughed, wiping away tears. "I'm stubborn. There's a difference." "Maybe, but I'm glad you are." Grace called from inside, wanting Grandma to read her a bedtime story. I went inside, crawled into her tiny bed, and read her favorite book about a brave little girl who saved her village from a dragon. When I finished, Grace snuggled against me. "Grandma," she said sleepily. "Yes, sweetie, I love you. I love you too, Grace, more than you'll ever know." She fell asleep in my arms, and I stayed there for a while, just holding her. This perfect, innocent thing, this proof that good can come from bad, that love can heal even the deepest wounds. This is what I fought for. This moment, this family, this peace, and it was worth it. Every sleepless night, every tear, every moment of fear and doubt, all of it was worth this. So if you're out there fighting for someone you love, let me tell you something. Don't give up. Don't let the manipulators and the liars convince you that you're the problem. Trust your instincts. Gather your evidence. Fight as hard as you need to fight. But most importantly, never stop showing up. Because love isn't about grand gestures or perfect moments. It's about being there. In the hard times, in the scary times, in the times when it feels like you're losing, that's when love matters most. That's when it changes everything. I learned that the hard way, through pain and betrayal and fear, but I learned it. And now, sitting in my granddaughter's room, listening to her soft breathing, surrounded by the family I fought to protect, I know it was all worth it, every single second. Because this is what real love looks like. Not control, not possession, not manipulation. Just presence, just showing up, just refusing to quit. And in the end, that's what wins. Every time.